With over 1,000 Pokemon in existence, which Pokemon stand out as potential newcomers to a Super Smash Bros. On Nintendo Switch 2? In previous Smash games, the rosters have mostly included popular Pokemon from the most recent mainline games. Starting from the Sword and Shield era, there are 3 Pokemon that stand out among the rest, 2 of which are starter Pokemon. All of the new Pokemon added to Smash in almost the last 20 years have been starter Pokemon, minus Lucario. The reason is that trainers immediately bond with the starters, and many use them for their entire playthrough of a game, making them easily one of their favorites. Starters are also typically very marketable, so they can sell merchandise easily. The 2 starters from Galar that have my attention for a potential addition to Smash are Cinderace and Inteleon. These 2 Pokemon are among the most popular Galar Pokemon based on the official Pokemon of the Year polls ran in 2020 and 2021. While these polls were basically 5 years ago, their popularity still holds up as each has dedicated support from fans for inclusion in Smash, and both were included as playable characters in the Pokemon MOBA game Pokemon Unite. For those unaware about Unite, most of the Pokemon that are included in the game are quite popular and considered to be fan favorites. Both Cinderace and Inteleon are unique enough to where they would bring a fresh dynamic to a playable Pokemon in Smash. Cinderace is a nimble, all-rounder that focuses on soccer-like movements, while Inteleon would be a more defensive, campy Pokemon that tries to keep you away with its strong projectile-based attacks. The third option from Galar is one that plagues the VGC community with one of, if not the highest pick rates in the current competitive Pokemon meta, Urshifu. This fighting-type Pokemon is unique in that it has 2 potential fighting styles from the core Pokemon games, Single Strike or Rapid Strike. This could function in Smash in such a way that either you declare which style you want to use before the fight via some in-game menu, or, the most likely scenario, it can toggle the style it uses while battling, and that will impact most of its moves in some way, or at least its special moves. Maybe going off the names, Rapid Strike style would be more flashy, deal less damage but be faster, while Single Strike would be a little slower but overall hit harder and deal more damage, similar to how Pyra and Mythra are handled in Smash Ultimate. There are some other cool Pokemon from Galar like Toxtricity and Surfetch that would be awesome to see in Smash, but their mainstream appeal may not be considered Smash worthy by the powers that be. Jumping to Scarlet and Violet, the Pokemon of Paldea have a few strong contenders. Naturally, we have to talk about the starters, one of which is by far and away the most popular choice, Meowscarada. Not only has this Pokemon already appeared in spin-offs like Pokemon Unite, it's similar to Greninja in that its evolutionary line plays a large role in the current Pokemon anime, Pokemon Horizons. Meowscarada could easily fit the mold of being a Smash character. It's based on a magician, so its moveset could contain some trickery and deception tactics. This, complemented by its fast pace and hard-hitting attacks, could make Meowscarada a top-tier threat in a game like Smash. I also like the idea of having the most recent Pokemon entries to Smash all be starters, but all represent one of the 3 starter types, Grass, Fire, and Water. 2 other Pokemon that have emerged as fan favorites from Paldea are Tinkaton and Ceruledge. Both of these Pokemon are well loved by the fanbase, have been playable in Pokemon Unite, and could easily fit into a game like Smash. Tinkaton's a tiny little gremlin wielding a giant hammer. What's not to love? Imagine King Dedede, but if he could move a whole lot faster. That's how I imagine Tinkaton would function in Smash. Ceruledge is a badass ghost Pokemon bent on revenge for the shortcomings in its former life. It has a move called Bitter Blade that restores HP based on the damage dealt, so it would be a pain to keep down in a long, drawn-out Smash game. Another Pokemon that could surprise us in Smash is Ogerpon. This Pokemon debuted in the first DLC, the Teal Mask. Ogerpon could function similarly to characters like Shulk that are able to change up their strengths based on what mode they choose. Ogerpon has 4 different masks, representing 4 different typings. In Smash, these could function to give Ogerpon different strengths. Perhaps the Rock Mask makes Ogerpon take less damage and be overall heavier, but slows it down. The Fire Mask could increase Ogerpon's damage output and make it faster. The possibilities are endless. Lastly, I don't think any of the new forms in Legends Arceus are popular enough for inclusion in Smash. However, a Legends Arceus Pokemon Trainer variant that has Cyndaquil, Duat, and Hisuian Decidueye would be awesome to see in Smash. Not only would this give us even more starters, but this would give us also the first fully evolved Grass-type starter in Smash. But if I had to pick one Pokemon from this video that I think is the odds-all favorite of getting into Smash, it's definitely Meowscarada.